Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the new invitation. In this opportunity, I speak about engineering and critical pedagogy. The relationship between engineering and critical pedagogy may seem at first contradictory. While the former has traditionally been understood as a technical discipline oriented toward efficiency, productivity, and the resolution of concrete problems, the latter is presented as an educational movement that questions powers, seeks social transformation, and promotes critical awareness in students. However, if engineering is understood not only as a technical practice, but also as an ethical, political, and social practice, significant connections began to emerge. From critical pedagogy, figures such as Carlos Cuyen, Paulo Freire, and Henri Giroux propose an education committed to reality, which allows for a profound rethinking of engineering education. Far from being a neutral discipline, engineering has a profound impact on social life. The decisions engineers make affect the environment, way of living, the distribution of resources, and access to technology. In this sense, critical pedagogy allows us to redefine engineering teaching, recognizing its ethical dimension. For example, Carlos Cuyen, in his Pedagogy of Otherness, proposed an education that focuses on the others, on human dignity, and on the transformation of the world. From this perspective, engineers must be trained not only as technicians, but as agents of social change capable of designing contextualist and sustainable solutions. A clear example of this is the development of appropriate technology for rural areas such as rainwater harvesting system or renewable energy adapted to contexts of energy poverty. These practices represent a form of critical engineering consisting with an ethic of liberation which seeks to empower the excluded through technical knowledge. Critical pedagogy is based on the concept of praxis understood as the articulation between theory and practice in the pursuit of the transformation of reality. In engineering, praxis is also present as engineering is studied to intervene in the material world. However, if this intervention lacks critical reflection, it becomes a tool for reproducing the status quo. Incorporating critical pedagogy into technical trainings involves inviting students to question the meaning of what they do, who benefits from their projects, and what the consequences are. That engineering ceases to be a simple exercise in calculation and becomes a liberating tool. Carlos Cuyen also points out that the teacher and professor must be a witness of meaning, someone who embodies values, listens, and builds authentic connections. Instead of being reduced to a transmitter of formulas, the engineering educator can become a transformative intellectual as proposed by Henri Giroux. This entails creating a pedagogical space where critical thinking is promoted, realism is problematized, and active students' participation is encouraged. A professor committed to critical pedagogy in engineering does not limit himself to teaching technical content, but also helps students develop an ethical perspective on their role in society. Zero warns that the curriculum is not neutral, but rather a terrain of ideological dispute. In engineering programs, content is often presented as objective and universal, without considering that it also responds to particular interests and worldviews. Integrating critical pedagogy entails revising the curriculum to include topics such as professional ethics, technology and human rights, environmental impact, and technological justice. This proposal seeks to break with an instrumental view of technical education and instead build a contextualist curriculum that engages with the social reality of students and their communities. Henri Giroux, from a critical pedagogy perspective, highlights the importance of popular culture as a space where meanings and social identities are constructed and contested. Far from being a simple reflection of reality, popular culture is seen as a tool for transforming its thought, symbolic and material practice. Therefore, Giroux proposed that pedagogy use this culture as a means to foster critical thinking, imagination, and collective action. Furthermore, he argues that school should function as a public sphere that is open space for free dialogue and the collective construction of knowledge, an idea influenced by Habermas and Kohlberg's notion of just community. Paulo Freire, in his Pedagogy of the Oppressed, argues that all education must be at the service of the excluded. Kujen takes up this idea from the perspective of liberation ethics, inviting us to rethink the act of education as a political gesture. Some two questions. What will happen if we talk engineering by first asking ourselves what our community needs? What if we made the classroom a space to imagine other possible futures? In this context, engineering becomes a tool for emancipation, contributing to democratizing access to technical knowledge and solving specific problems through cooperation, dialogue, and ethical committing. Critical pedagogy is not at odds with engineering. On the contrary, it can profoundly enrich its teaching and practice, humanizing technical training and imbuing it with ethical, political, and social meaning. Training engineering from these perspectives means training people capable of questioning the development model, designing with and for the community, and actively engaging with a more just world. In times of ecological crisis, inequality, and exclusion, critical dialogue based on supported engineering is more necessary than ever. Sorry for my English. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.